So, hello everybody, I'm Natasha Nandini, and in the spirit of the 10th International Yoga Day coming up on the 21st of June, I'm going to be speaking to friends, colleagues, and students who have all in some way been associated with yoga practices, either yoga itself or its subsidiary practices, for at least 2 decades, in the hope that they will share with us some of their experiences and insights that we can use wherever we are on our path. So that today I'm speaking to Victor Chng. He's joining us from Singapore. Victor is a teacher of life force movement. This is a practice that integrates Qigong, Tai Chi, and yoga. He is a keen explorer of organic human movement that brings healing to the body and the mind. Victor has been teaching yoga since 2004 and was an international teacher until 2020. He is also a practitioner of Chinese metaphysics, such as I Ching numerology, and Chinese medicine, which he incorporates in his teachings. So, Victor, hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to ask, the first question I'd like to ask you is, could you just give us a little bit of information about life force movement?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here with you today to share some of my knowledge. Yeah, so the first thing is this idea about what life force movement is about, and also how is that going to be sort of related to the idea of yoga. And to me, I have been exploring movement, and it is what I call healing movement, or you can say energy-based movement. And the key idea is energy, or there's so many words that is sort of relating to this idea of energy. But specifically, when we talk about life force, we are talking about a kind of vital energy that supports life. And it has been there in supporting life from the very beginning. Yeah. So the Chinese sort of look at this in two aspects. One is the prenatal aspect and the postnatal aspect. Yeah. But anyhow, the fundamental of these two come from the same source. Yeah, it comes from the same source. When this life-sustaining vital energy leaves the body, that's where the body starts to disintegrate. Yeah, and we continue to move into the next dimension. Yeah, so from the ordinary world, we call that death. Yeah, or the end of life. Yeah, but the reality is that life never ends. Yeah, it continues in another form. Yeah, so what leaves is this physical material, but then life continue in another dimension. So what we are really cultivating ultimately is what the Chinese call qi, the Indian call prana. Yeah, and we have so many different ways of describing this. If the idea of a particular movement practice is devoid of this, uh, devoid of this notion of wanting to increase this life-sustaining vital energy, the practice itself have very little value. Yeah. So the key question here we need to then consider is what kind of practices are we engaging ourselves that improves this life-sustaining vital energy. Yeah. It's not exactly like how much physical activity we are engaging ourselves in, but really we are looking at a kind of practice. Yeah. Especially coming from physical human movement, which we have so many different contemporary ideas known as exercises. Yeah. So are these exercises really beneficial in a way that it ultimately improves this life-sustaining vital energy? Or are we overdoing something, that leads to a depletion? Yeah, then which ultimately doesn't lead to any purpose. if you continue to do such practices. So then the idea is, as we take this idea into creating a physical practice, we have to then look at physical movement, which I call organic movement. Organic movement, it has to do with the fact that it has to be tailored to this body at this point in time with the physical limitation and condition that you have. Yeah, and how are you going to move that brings more physical liberation, move in a way that creates more space within you, instead of creating movement, yeah, that restrict you more, that brings you more difficulty, yeah, over time. So we are all looking for this idea known as space. So what essentially life force movement wants to do is to first create an internal space that is within the body. And by doing that, we want to then ultimately be able to increase our mobility, yeah, but in an organic way. By that I mean you are always going to find new space within you. And this exploration of human movement is like peeling through layers of onion, and you are always going to get into a layer that is, you are going to find more restriction. So then how are you going to stay within that space and find your comfort level and find your ability to breathe and to stay relaxed, yeah, in that limitation, and then over time increase your physical mobility. Yeah, so that is the kind of a thing that we are looking at. Then yoga, Qigong or Tai Chi, the common ground actually is energy. Yeah, it's this idea of Qi. Yeah, it's this idea of life force cultivation. Yeah, which is what we are trying to improve upon. Yeah. So the method of practices, they are not quite similar. Yeah. And I can sort of give some idea as to how the Chinese is viewing the body and how the Indians are viewing the body. You are going to see more linear movement in yoga practices, but you're going to see more circular movement in Chinese-based movement, yeah, which is coming out from the concept of Taiji and the 8 trigrams. So then you have a linear type of movement, you have a circular type of movement that completes the whole spatial experience. Yeah, so that is how we are looking at things when we want to formulate life force movement practice.
So if we're actually looking at all three, let's say Qigong yoga and Tai Chi on one side and other movement on the other, we could do that, because the intention of yoga, Tai Chi and Qigong is, as you were saying, this working with the energy. So really what we're looking for there is a level of awareness within the movement. Is that what you would say?
Yes, I think the first thing is physical awareness, body awareness. Yeah, so body awareness has to do with this spatial idea. Where is the body in space? Yeah, so this is what I find many people are lacking. When they are in any practice, they don't feel, or they don't really identify this whole body in that location, in that spatial presence. Yeah, So they are always going to find the coordination between left and right difficult, or upper body and lower body, or front and back, you know. So it's difficult for them to have uniform, united idea that the body is moving as one, not as different parts.
Yes.
So the synchronization, yeah. So whether is it a yoga practice, you know, and also as we advance in asana, you are really looking at the asana as a single unit. Yeah, you're not looking at uh, sort of like working the asana part by part, but it's the whole movement has to be taken throughout the spine and throughout the whole body. So that kind of idea, which again in Qigong and Tai Chi is exactly the same. Yeah, so there is no part movement, there is no isolated movement, but it is always looking for completion, yeah, meaning end to end, yeah, base of the feet up to the crown, yeah, end to end. And it doesn't matter what physical orientation you are, whether you are standing, you're seated on the floor, you know, you're in inverted pose, you are always looking at an end-to-end connection, which is very challenging for many people.
Yes. And so what if you were to give, let's say, three things that somebody could do to cultivate their practice in the way that you're saying, what would you advise?
The first thing is that we begin with a lot of yoga-based movement. They are important for loosening of the joints. They are important for increasing the elastic component of the body. Yeah, and that helps to loosen up a lot of tight spots. Yeah, so that is always I would say the fundamental and the base. Yeah, when the body is entirely cold, so you like, for example, an authentic qigong practice always begin with standing meditation. Yeah. So why? Because if you are doing this correctly, you begin not only to feel the connection from the base of the feet up to the crown, yeah, via the back line, but you also actually will feel heat. Yeah. And when we are working on standing meditation, in the beginning, as a beginner, we also take into account a proper way of engaging the breath. Okay, so it's not entirely natural breath as a beginner. So there is always the consciousness of how you are breathing, and then slowly we let it go, and we are no longer so uptight by being very consistent with the breathing. But the awareness of the breath and the deliberate work on the breath in the beginning aligns the body, aligns the whole structure, yeah, and create the sense of volume and shape of that particular structure that you're creating. So that's important because you need to sustain that for some time, yeah, and then slowly when you are feeling that that spaciousness and the structure that you can sustain within your means, yeah, then whether you are actually active in your breathing, it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. And that creates a lot of heat in the body if it is done correctly. Yeah. But normally, I don't do that to pure beginners. It's very difficult to get people to keep still these days. Yeah. So we normally will start with active movement, active repetitive movement. Yeah. So we don't sort of start with static movement. We do a lot of active repetitive movement to loosen up the joints and to loosen up the tight spots of the body. With that as the foundation, then we go into a Qigong or a Tai Chi practice eventually. The Qigong and the Tai Chi has a very, the base is the same. Okay, the fundamental is the same. Yeah, that's why the Qigong and the Tai Chi, they are closely connected. The only difference is that the Qigong actually, it is usually simpler for anyone to enter into this practice without much foundation practice required. Yeah. Why? Because in most of the Qigong sets that we go into, there is no need so much for moving out from a stationary position. Yeah, so you take a relaxed horse stand, and then that's where you start to move. Yeah, and there is not so much of movement out from that position. So in terms of coordination, it's usually easier. Yeah, but when you start the Tai Chi is a much more complex coordination, because you have to take into account the legs movement and the hand movement has to go in tandem. And
Yes.
it's also a fixed sequence. It's a fixed sequence. So depending on what sequence you are working into, yeah. So when you have to move the movement of the legs and the arms in tandem, it requires it's not only about flexibility, yeah. It's really about focus, concentration, and awareness of the body in space. Okay, with that usually is a much more difficult thing to do. Yeah, many people ask me like, okay, if I move my hands this way, where do I stop? Yeah, so where is it that you should stop? I say, should I go more? Should I take it back? Where is it? So there is no where, there is no fixed answer, because it's a coordination between the legs and the arm. Yeah, so you have to be able to feel where is the back leg. You have one leg in front and you have one leg back. Yeah, but it is the back leg that is moving this hand forward. So then you have to feel, right? And you also have to have this idea of where is the body in the whole spatial arrangement. Yeah,
So
so that is.
would you say that Qigong is then an easier access to these practices?
Yes. So if someone with Qigong as a background, it's
Yes.
easier to practice Tai Chi. Yeah. So if they don't and they want to come into Tai Chi purely, it actually takes more time. Yeah.
Right.
So they need a little bit more time to coordinate. They need to do a lot more coordination and also understanding the grounding principle.
Well, would
Yeah.
you say that perhaps it depends on the type of person that's coming to you? For example, you were saying that in Qigong, it's more static. And so for some people, staying still is quite difficult. Whereas other people, and so they would need to move more. So maybe
Mm.
the accessibility would be better suited for them to be moving. Otherwise, it could be quite mentally excruciating.
In Qigong, you see, you don't move the legs, but you move the upper body.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a lot of movement in your upper body. Usually the arms have a lot of movement. Yeah. And you are doing like spinal rotation on one side, the other side, things like that. Yeah. But your legs doesn't move. Yeah.
Right.
So that's why it's easier to coordinate.
I
Uh,
see. And so, Victor, for you personally, what would you say? Could you give us some transforming factors that you've experienced yourself through your process and your journey?
So for me, I started with yoga. Yeah,
Mm.
I think just like anyone out there, I started with I did many things, many different kinds of yoga. Yeah. And then eventually I come to a point where I wanted to give up yoga. Yeah, because I'm not seeing a lot of progression. Yeah. I'm not seeing like Okay, so maybe a typical guy is, their idea is, oh, if I can do my handstand and handstand variation, if I can do my back bend and back bend variation. So for them, they think that this is a progression. Yeah. But for someone that really understand energy work, right? It's not your physical capability. Yeah, so we then need to understand really the real Hatha yoga is in breath control. Yeah, so we cannot come out of this idea. So if the Hatha yoga does not involve any kind of breath control, then technically speaking, there is no Hatha yoga in this practice. Yeah. So if we then look at the text, yeah, like Hatha Yoga Pratipika, a big chunk is discussing onto all the formations of what we call a mudra. Yeah, and all the different locks that you have to go into, and they are all for the purpose of breath control. Yeah, so it is really something that we need to consider. When I then come into Qigong and Tai Chi, and I spend my time into this aspect, yeah. So then my teacher told me the same thing, you're not breathing when you are moving, yeah, or you're not breathing properly, where is it that you need to inhale and where is it that you need to exhale? There is certain level of precision in each of the movement in Tai Chi especially. Yeah. So then if you don't breathe in that way, the whole formation of that practice, it will look very rigid, okay? Look very robotic, yeah? Because you don't know where you should take your inhale and you don't know where you should take your exhale, yeah? So the beauty of Tai Chi movement is when you see someone moving in that sequence and as if the person is in cloud.
Yeah.
That's why the movement is very light, okay, even though he is doing a lot of difficult movement, but he has that sense of lightness in his body. Yeah. So again, this idea exactly is the same as Hatha Yoga. I mean, we are looking for this quality as well. The number two quality they're looking for is this feeling that there is a layer of like a round volume covering that being, that person. Yeah. So we said that the movement is in a circular pattern. Yeah. The person that is moving, he is in a round ball. Yeah, you can almost see that round ball that is around him. Yeah, it's an aura that he has created from his movement by repeating all this circular movement with his hand, also with his spine, yeah, how he is moving the spine, also with his legs, yeah. So it's all in that circular movement. So you sort of feel that person in that sequence moving in that circular form. And this is unique to Tai Chi especially, yeah. And Qigong is same. Qigong is same. When we do these kind of practices, we start to think 3D in our movement, which very few people like I give you an example. Like if you do Uttanasana and you think, oh, I'm just folding, right? So if your image is that I'm just folding, correct? And it's like, oh, I have to be like flat as a pancake, right? Then you are going into a 2D dimension. There is no front and back. Okay, you're not going to think about your front side and your back side because you're thinking 2-dimension, right? You're thinking, I just fold and I just go. Yeah. But then if when I start to go into this kind of a Tai Chi and Qigong practice, the master always will tell you there is a front, there is a back, there is a left, there is a right, and there is a center. Okay. And that is where you start to observe. Yeah, you want the structure to be in a 3-dimensional form instead of thinking in 2D. Yeah, once you think 3-dimensional form, the center appear. That means the awareness of the center comes. But when you think everything is like a flat pancake, yeah, it's just like a sandwich, something fall over something, that center never, it never appear in you. That means you don't have the awareness of that center. Yeah.
I mean,
So
this
I
is a
find,
process.
yeah. So I find after I take up serious Qigong and Tai Chi practices, I begin to be more aware of this three-dimensional structure that I need to work in my body. Yeah, so I'm no longer just focusing on the direction that I'm going into. I'm also being aware of the direction that I'm moving away from. Yeah, so that is the new I can say sense of awareness that I begin, and that changes my yoga practice. Yeah,
Yes.
because I begin to see there is so much thing that I can reincorporate it back into my asana practice, which I never done. I've never done it in that way. Yeah. So I begin to find a new way of breathing in each of these asana, which I never found in the past. Yeah. So then I feel something has opened up as a result of taking the yoga asana. So that reignites my interest in coming back to the yoga practice again. Yeah. And I'm so happy and so fortunate to have met you, to come to you, and we have so much similar ideas.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. We do. It's true. There are a lot of things that are similar. And what you're saying also, I think it's also about this. It's also the first stage in yoga is that you have to understand the physical shape. But then after the physical shape, once you've got the physical shape, then there is the next level, like you're talking about, is to turn it from 2D to 3D. So, what would you say, Victor, for you? Would you say that how have these practices changed your life in particular? Say from before you came across these practices, how were you as a person, and now how have they influenced you?
I think it is all this knowledge. First I must say the first benefit of doing, first having that understanding, and secondly immersing myself in such a practice. The greatest beneficiary is myself. Yeah, I'm so thankful of the fact that I'm very lucky to have met good people along the way to teach me correctly. And of course, at this moment, I do have some time to really immerse myself daily, into such a practices. And the first thing that I find is my digestion has changed tremendously. Yeah, so I'm vegetarian, and I never thought that before I become a vegetarian, I never thought that I will be successful as a vegetarian. Yeah, but the diet in the beginning, I thought that is going to weaken me, has actually give me more strength.
Yeah.
Okay, so the important thing I find is that if you want to go deep into such practices, is looking at a diet that helps you to improve your digestion. So the first thing I find is that my digestion has improved. The second thing that I find is that the skin quality also has changed. Yeah, so there are so many benefits. I mean, the reality is that the real anti-aging, so to speak, which so many people are talking about, right? Doing this, doing that. And then I think we also have a lot of technology today that really can support this particular process. Yeah. But the reality is that we should not overlook, however powerful a supplement or food that we consume. Yeah, this is a body that is defined by physical work. Yeah, as long as we have this human body, we need physical work. Yeah, and that we cannot avoid. Yeah, it's part of our dharma. Yeah, and we have to see it that way. And if we don't want to take on this responsibility, yeah, then we are going to face with consequences later. So I realized that before I was 40. Yeah, and I'm very glad that I've already thought through, because when you look at the I Ching calculation of a human life, yeah. So the I Ching says that we have two 60-year cycle. We have two 60-year cycle, and the Chinese give particular name to a 60-year cycle. So a 60-year cycle is very significant. So in Chinese, 60 years birthday is a big birthday. Yeah, 60 years actually means that you start to age.
Is it
Okay.
related to the fact that you would have at 60 come back to the same sign as your birth? In the sense
Okay.
of the dragon, the dog.
Trigon. Okay, if you look at one trigon is 3 lines. Okay, in the 8 trigons, one trigon is 3 lines. Okay, and then the symbol has 2 of that trigram. Yeah, it has 6 lines. Okay, to represent the path of, or the first half of human life. Each line represents 10 years. Okay, 6. So when you reach the top, yeah, so one line represents 10 years, so 6 line, 3 at the bottom and 3 at the top. When you reach the 60th year, you come back to the bottom, and you are going to move again from the first 10 year to the 60 year. What actually it means is this, that a complete human life, yeah, that someone that has the fortune and the right circumstance, yeah, to live a complete life. What does that mean, a complete life to a Chinese? The Chinese look at it and says that you should live up to 120 years. Okay, if the right circumstances, and if given the right fortune, okay, so the Buddhists will say you need to have merits in order to achieve this. Okay, so given that there is no accident, yeah, the karma is good, yeah, the right environment, yeah, right circumstances, then this should be what happens. So which means anybody that died before 60, from a Chinese point of view, yeah, from the I Ching point of view, is a unfortunate death. It's an early death that is that happened much more prematurely, yeah, than what it should have been. Okay, so that is actually what it means. Yeah, it has a lot of profound meaning that is behind it. So then the thing is that today, if we look at like the World Health Organization report, and we look at the life expectancy of average person, maybe you are talking about 80 to maybe about 86. Yeah, so from that point of view, yeah, we all have quite an early death. Yeah, so the Taoists, the Taoists is always saying that, you should have longevity. Yeah, so what actually is the implication behind that is this ability to revitalize the energy, right? So not only the Taoist is talking about this, yeah, but we also see the same thing happening in the discussion of yogic practices and Ayurveda. Yeah, we also say the same way of understanding. Yeah, so in the ancient past, developed by the Taoists. We have a very ancient nanotechnology. Okay, so in order for that food to be able to absorb very quickly without taxing into the digestive system of the body, yeah, there is one way to work that food, which is known as nighttime steaming and nighttime sun dry. Okay, so the
Explain that a bit
go into the sun, have to be sun completely dry, and then come back into steaming and steam to add the water back into that, and then again go out to the sun to sun it dry. So we see this kind of thing is still more or less preserved in Wudang, yeah, in this Taoist mountain in China, and some of these rare villages that they are still doing things like that. Yeah, we call this nighttime steaming and nighttime sun dry. Yeah, one working on with the other. Yeah, so one after the other. Yeah,
Yeah.
rotating this way, and then what happened to that is that the food becomes so easily digested by the body without taxing into the digestive health of the body.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. But Victor, what would you suggest to people who do not have access to 9 times steaming and sun-dried food?
Yeah, so then you eat food. So first understand what is it that you are allergic to, what kind of food you are allergic to. Yeah, because you may actually be very allergic to some of the food which you cannot eat, but you have to then see that you are eating things that are quite easily digested by the body. Yeah,
So not
so
tax.
don't eat things that you have difficulty in digesting it. So for some people it might just be an egg yolk, a fully cooked egg yolk. Yeah, that is very difficult for them to digest. Yeah, so you have to find out what that you are sensitive to. Yeah, and then you have to think about hydration. Yeah, because if you are taking too many stuff that are dehydrated, yeah, that does not have water as a content inside, yeah, then like cookies, biscuits, and if you are taking all this kind of always taking this kind of dehydrated food, yeah, then it's also going to be a problem. Yeah, so always think about your water. Yeah, the other thing is think about the salt. Salt is very, very important to human body. Yeah, because there is so much mineral. Actually, why we get into salt is that we need the minerals that is found inside. So we have salt from so many different sources, whether is it from the sea, from the well, from high mountain, from volcano, they all give different kinds of trace elements, trace mineral, that is very important in revitalizing the cell. Yeah. And then finally, I suggest like you look into the oil that you are cooking, because today the supermarket oil has a lot of problem.
Yeah.
So you have to start looking at taking good fats, plant-based, good fats. Yeah. So if you're taking care of the salt, if you're taking care of the fats, if you're taking care of food that is easily digested, yeah, by your body, yeah, and don't try to take too many things that are dehydrated stuff, yeah, then you should be fine. Yeah, should be fine. Yeah, so I also suggest people to work proper way of breathing in their movement. Yeah, the real pranayama is going to be how to say difficult for most to access. Yeah,
It's
because
also,
yeah,
It's also, it has to come with a lot of practice after doing some asana to do the proper pranayama. But just lengthening the breath or being aware of the breath is a good starting point, right?
Yes,
To be
yes,
aware of the
yes,
breath.
yes.
And
So the breathing has to do with the work of the diaphragm. So that one we have to really help them to connect. Okay. So when the diaphragm is in the wrong position, you find that it is very difficult um to get the full volume of the breath. Yeah. So the when your rib cage go this way, see, yeah, when it comes this way, yeah, that is this kind of posture is always going to be compromised by how you are going to take a full breath. Yeah,
yes,
and when your head move forward too much and you are having this kyphotic type of situation, yeah, then your rib cage is always going to be compromised. Yeah.
correct.
So how to open the space um, from the solar plexus, just below the solar plexus, all the way down to the pubic area. This space is a very important space to open up if we want to breathe properly. But then we see that they are all soft tissues with very little bone structure. So anything that is from the rib cage to the top, right, you have more bony structure. But it's the soft part, yeah, that due to many problems, yeah, wrong diet, wrong posture, yeah, that this part gets tightened up.
And
Yeah,
these are corrected through the practices.
yeah. So this
But
has to be corrected.
yeah, and this is done over let's say regular practice. But Victor, just one more question before I let you go is for somebody that has not yet got their own practice and say has not yet started coming to a class or has a teacher or anything, what things could they do to just do something, just to be doing something that's beneficial in their daily life?
I would just say stand with feet together. Yeah, and really think about the front and the back. You see, so when people take it for granted about this Tadasana pose, this mountain pose, right? Because they think, oh, if I just stand straight, then that's Tadasana. So that's the problem, right? Because now if we really want to find that center, yeah, if we stand for the purpose of wanting to find that center, we have to start feeling the back and the front and bringing the front and the back to that state of evenness. Yeah.
Correct.
So then it is not just about what is happening at the feet, but it's also what is happening at the pelvis. Yeah. To be able to bring the front body and the back body to that state of equilibrium. Yeah. And one of the things that people don't do in Tadasana is thinking about the crown and lifting up. Yeah. So that makes that line shorter. Yeah. So you actually become shorter when you don't think about the crown to lift up. Yeah. And when you lift up, you do this. Yeah. So you try to lift up or you do this, that kind of thing. Yeah. So you don't know how to take the chin back, yeah, to lift up the crown. So finding that center line through the base of the feet to go up to the crown is quite an important thing. So every time before I start my asana practice, I take some moment, some time to make sure that I stand properly. And it's the same for my Tai Chi movement. Yeah, we begin with standing with feet together and we open up that feet. Yeah, so that is important. And then you can have very easy arm movement, where you bring up to the chest and then you turn and you just look up. Yeah, and open. Yeah, and you have to feel the connection between the belly button into the throat as you bring it up. Yeah, to
Mm.
open this line. Yeah,
Yes.
so
For someone
this
who someone who doesn't go to class and maybe hasn't done that before, I mean, for me, I usually always suggest a small number of repetitions so that it can be something that is manageable. So someone can do maybe 3 repetitions only. This won't even take 30 seconds, but it's a way of beginning, starting something and a relationship between you and this thing.
Mm.
So would you say that the one where interlacing the fingers, taking the arms up and widening the hands would be a good place to start for somebody
Yeah,
at
yes,
home,
yeah. I will
using
do
the
that
breath?
using the breathing. And you may find that the slower you do that, if
Mm.
you take time, you don't try to rush it. The slower that you do that, yeah, to take time and stay with it for a moment before you open, the slower it goes, yeah, then you will find that, slowly your breath will also change as a result of opening up the diaphragm.
That's lovely. And, I would just reiterate that doing it every day is important. That's why it's important to just keep it small, because when you do something every day, it's over the long period of time that you start to see the who you are, actually, who you are.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, well, Victor,
Repetition,
sorry.
repetition.
Yes, repetition, exactly. Um, So Victor, look, I'm so grateful to you for joining us today. And you are based in Singapore. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your details at the bottom of this video, so anyone who is local to you or is interested in working with you can contact you directly. And thank you again. You and I will be in touch
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank
And
you.
thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope that you found that useful. Good luck and goodbye for now.
Goodbye.